Today we're going to have a look at this pen made in Italy, number 6 of 33. This was lent to me by my friend Sinister Peter. I've only kept it for about 6 years, I think, before I got around to doing a review, but we are here now. So, Santini Pens, interesting company in Italy that makes pens. They make some pretty nice acrylic models. They also make some ebonite models. This is one. This is the sand ebonite. I'll show you, I'll point the camera down, give you a better look in just a second. One thing that is quite fascinating about Santini is that Santini makes its own nibs, as I understand it. It's not necessarily incredibly common these days to find a company that makes its own nibs in-house, so that's quite nice. And beyond that, ebonite, limited edition, piston filler, gold nib, so this pen has quite a bit going for it. So, let's talk about the parts of the pen. I will do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like and what I don't like about this pen. Let's get started. Okay, so here we have the Santini Libra in the sand ebonite. I don't have the box, but I'm sure it came in a box. Here you see the pen right next to a Lamy Sapphire to give you a bit of a size comparison. As you can see, this pen is quite girthy, which I enjoy. I find it very comfortable to hold. So, 18 karat gold nib, in this case a stub, I'll show you that in a second. Ebonite pen, handmade nib in Italy, piston filler pen, and in this case limited to 33 pens, so it is quite a limited edition. Okay, the parts of the pen. Finial, nice and turned into this sort of slide conical shape. Here we have the number of the pen. This happens to be 6 of 33. We have a clip with a little wheel. Clip is quite stiff. We have a nice gold band there, which actually says Italia and Santini on the other side. Barrel tapers down ever so slightly, and here we have a turning knob, which I'll be very careful to just rotate a tiny bit, but that's the turning knob. Okay? I'm careful because there's actually ink in here. Here we have the actual pen. The actual pen has, as you can see, quite a long section, which tapers down, flares out a little bit. Threads are right there, and the threads, although they're not exactly flush with the barrel, especially at the bottom, at the top I find them almost flush, and they are really quite comfortable because the section is long enough for me to hold it without really touching those threads, especially at the bottom where they stick out quite a bit. I'm not actually touching them, so that's really nice. Here we have that nib, 18 karat nib, made in Italy. As I said, this is a company that makes their own nibs. It says 1998 Santini, and a nice ebonite feed as well. This happens to be a stub nib, but you can also get these with other nib grades, including a flexi nib. So, sorry about the noise, that's just my desk chair, not me getting incredibly old. Let's have a look. The Santini Libra. This is the stub in 18K, and this is Monteverde black ink. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out just a little bit there. I have found the writing with this pen to be really quite pleasant. It is a writer that offers a tiny bit of feedback, but in a very pleasant manner. It's not scratchy, so that's really quite nice. Feed. As you can see, keeps up very well. And what I should say, and I find that a very positive aspect, I've had this pen on my desk without uncapping it for a week, and you see what just happened when I started to write. I did, of course, try it quickly before the video, just to make sure that it would not have run dry, but it wrote straight away. I have not primed the feed, it wrote like this straight away. So I think that really is a very good sign. Some pens dry out very quickly. This one was really nice, so a cap that closes nicely. That is pretty good performance, I would say, right? Nice and pretty wet writer. This is Rhodia paper. Line variation. Well, this is an interesting stub. It is not the world's stubbiest of stubs, but you do get some line variation. This is without pressure. I'm just trying to show you off the shape of the nib tipping. So you can definitely get some line variation out. Now, as always, very careful. I'm particularly careful because this is someone else's pen. There is a bit of springiness to this nib, but as you can see, it railroads quite quickly, and this was with very light pressure. But again, these pens are offered with a flexi nib option. So if that is what you're after, you would need to get that nib modified, and they would have to create a different nib for you. It's not advertised as a flex nib. Then there is the reverse writing. Always a bit challenging with a stub nib, but as you can see, this nib gets away with it, and you can definitely get some nice fine lines out of your otherwise somewhat wider nib. And that's pretty much all there's to it. So I think we should discuss what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's do that next. Okay, what do I like, what do I not like about this Santini Libra? There's a couple of things I kind of enjoy. I am now not sure if I mentioned the price before, 359 euros. That's the price. It is definitely a somewhat larger pen, which I enjoy. I find it very comfortable section, really pleasant to hold and use. A very pleasant nib, nice bit of line variation with this stub, and kind of nice that the nib is made in-house. There's not a whole lot of companies who do that anymore. Santini is not unique, but there isn't that many companies doing it, so I think that is really quite nice. Issues, well, first of all, it is limited, so I think this particular finish is already sold out, so if you want one, that's not going to happen, but there are other finishes of the same model, so there is always that. And there is a tiny bit of extra delivery time for the specialty nibs like stub and flexi, but it was only, I think they said 2 to 5 days, so it's not that much longer. It's not that all of a sudden you have to wait 3 months. One thing is it's ebonite, and ebonite does require a bit of care. Ebonite does not bounce, so if you drop that on a hard floor, it may definitely crack / shatter. And you have to be a bit careful with water because it will discolor, and given that ink is a liquid, be careful when you're cleaning out your pen not to drop parts in water, because that discoloration can occur relatively quickly. So always have to be a bit careful with that in ebonite. Having said that, I think it's a very nice pen. Very nice, very pleasant, very comfortable, and I think that this is definitely a pen that I would enjoy using myself. So I could see myself purchasing something like this. Okay, a very kind thank you to Sinister Peter for lending me this pen. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.